And we're back. This is another Working Brother Talks. Yet again, George McMillon III. He's stuck around for some comedy gold. YouTube's best kept secret. The worst comedy show on YouTube. George, we're here discussing comments on old videos and some news and stuff like that. But none of it has anything to do with reality because this is Working Brother Talks after all. Right, George?
That's damn straight.
Let's get into these comments. This is the last one that we covered last, and then we had a little preview of this. Oh, can I come on zoom in and then let me scroll up? There we go. So this is George's wait, I need to make it TV only. Nope, even that doesn't work. Can I wait, can we do this? And then where's my watermark? There we go. We'll turn it off. There are a ton of changes to making the matriarchal family structure possible. Socialism is a rational choice model on how to replace the patriarchal system with an alternative support. Wow, my voice is really cracky. Alternative support structure. That alternative support system is more than just nice, generous welfare state. It leads to totalitarianism. Once the system becomes an evolutionary, unstable strategy, then it... Oh, wait, I don't have the full comment? Hold on, I have to go find the full comment. George, do you want to comment while I go find the full comment?
Oh, yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, then it becomes... once it becomes an evolutionary unstable strategy, then it becomes politically unstable. You know, the cluster A, B, and C's increase. That's obvious just from looking at social media. Again, when I'm looking at social media comment sections, I'm doing I'm doing sentiment analysis, and ultimately it's productive character orientations versus cluster A, B's, and C's. And boy, the cluster A, B, and C's are really, you know, the psychological disorders are just increasing over time for a lot of reasons. I posted that in here, and then a lot of people responded to that in the Telegram chat. I forget who it was, but it was that girl from Australia. So, you know, when I was going back and forth to New York a couple of weeks ago, that's what that chat was about. So yeah, some of these things, they start on the YouTube channel and then they drifted over to the Telegram chat. So yeah, once it becomes, because once you had to break down the nuclear family and people start depending on the state or marrying the state, they don't depend on their own nuclear family and kinship, extended family for support. They're waiting for the state support. They're having fewer children. We don't have replacement strategies. So now you don't have a workforce big enough to pay off the unfunded Social Security expenditures. So that's what's making the system collapse. And a lot of people say, well, you know, why did certain, like Governor Cuomo, take COVID patients that were elderly and put them back in nursing homes? A lot of people think they did that to spread COVID to the most contagious, because these blue states, their state Medicare systems are broke, and the federal Medicare systems are super underfunded. So a lot of people were like, boy, isn't that convenient? They're unable to pay for the elderly that they promised 20 or 30 years ago. People set up their, people depended on that. And now they send COVID patients. It just conveniently wipes away, $1 billion of underfunded pension liability problems. That's occurred across the Northeast and out in California and, well, wherever the blue states are. They tended to do that the most. A strange coincidence, I should say.
I'm looking for memes here in the background because this third recording with you is more impromptu than the last one. I came across one that I shared with another guest a couple of days ago. So some viewers might find this boring and repetitive, but I want to get your take on it from Pipelines, Petrodollars, Heartland kind of perspective. This is supposedly a Russian proverb. Optimists study English, pessimists study Chinese. The realists learn how to use a Kalashnikov.
Well, I mean, I use mostly ARs, but yeah, I've shot a lot of AKs. Yeah, we had. I mean, some of the places I worked at had a whole bunch of Kalashnikov variants chambered in different rounds. Plus some PKMs and some RPKs, and yeah, we had some interesting stuff.
I think you missed the point. I was getting at the fact that
I changed the point.
Okay, so you don't think
I'm implying that I'm a realist.
Shall we get back to those triggered comments? Okay. Well, here I agree. A ton of changes have to be made, and somehow they have to be made on many levels, which help to free the mindset of the fixed structures which were suppressive for women, as many times in history has been distorted by the forces controlling the outcome, and Keynesianism has been abused, or maybe was faulty right from the beginning. Connecting socialism and communism with matriarchal family system is an intellectual shortcut, which for me doesn't come close to what it could be, if it was even to be a goal we want to achieve. I'm not sure I follow the train of thought here. In any case, all these concepts are still made by man, and it seems to me you dig deep into this rabbit hole. Wink. Maybe you might try to find a feminine approach. Thanks for your work in this comedy show of brothers' work. George, should I read? Do you want to read your comment?
Good. No,
do you want to read?
There's. I took a whole. Yeah. She suggested that I find a feminist approach. Oh, trust me. Women's studies literature. Yeah, I have. I got an abundance of it.
But more than you wanted, eh?
Yeah. Well, again, Bill Robinson had his curriculum, liberal versus conservative, and yeah, Simone de Beauvoir's book Second Sex was mandatory reading as far as that goes. But a lot of stuff, that spawned a lot of other work in feminist literature. I tell people to watch Janice Fiamingo because she does specialize on that for people that don't have a background in it. And I watch a few of her videos every other month or something like that. Or I for a while there, I actually binge watched because she really hits. She covers a lot of material I haven't read in decades. And it's a good way to catch up on feminist literature because she does 25-minute videos and you get a lot. She does them very well. And that's all she studies. So she's very good at it. But yeah, the shift toward, okay, let me back up a second. I had that anthropology and government form class, but my constitutional law professors were incremental socialists. Not far left, or more like center left. I mean, they were really good. Love them. Great professors, I thought. But I certainly learned how they wanted to shift the Constitution of the United States to increase social justice. In that case, they're making the Supreme Court of the United States a super legislature, even though they said they're not going to, or they have to keep it from that occurring. But they've certainly had activist Supreme Court justices, whether you call it incrementalist socialist Supreme Court judges, or since it's patterned after the Frankfurt School and the New Left, they tend to call that critical legal theory, CLT. So what's his name? The lawyer from Yale that's always on Fox. Oh, I forget his name right now.
I have no
idea. He was talking about it with Mark Levin a few years ago. So, yeah, he's a real famous lawyer. I can picture his face. Can't remember his name right now. But, yeah, he was always talking about once it shifts into critical legal theory, well, they don't have any – they're not trained in the old Adam Smith evolutionary of property rights and free market theory and the whole idea that common law should respect that because you're really respecting capitalism when you do that. They're saying intentionally to push it towards a welfare state and get rid of the U.S. Constitution. So it's not that, yeah, just go back to the quote and post it up there.
Oh, wait, the other one you had?
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's talking about like I never read it. No, we're already playing this out, and it's already leading to a disaster. So if you want to perfect a matriarchal system, you go to full-blown socialism. But where has it ever worked? Because then you have to start controlling the economy to do it, and the bureaucrats end up strangling the economy, and growth in technology and productiveness just precipitously falls. Look at Venezuela now, because socialist parties, single party socialist state leaders, they start, well, the whole meritocracy is what ends up falling because they put the local party members that are loyal to the party, that are ideologues, in charge of all the critical plant and infrastructure. Well, when you do that, they always get rid of the most capable engineers and managers. They end up sending them to the gulags 100% of the time. Again, look at Venezuela. This is a current example. Once they get in power, once you vote yourself into socialism, you can't vote yourself out because once the single party state's achieved, well, it's permanent. They control the military, they control the police. Unless you're a loyal party member, you're not going to get in the military or stay in the military. You're going to get kicked out if you start speaking your mind.
As someone born in Yugoslavia, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, you have no indication. Your parents would have no idea what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally foreign concepts to me.
You have Yugos and Trabants in Eastern Europe, and during the 1990s, you had absolutely fabulous cutting-edge Mercedes and Lexuses and Infinities at the time that were just just light years ahead of what you guys are driving. So you would have no idea. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, with that change to a matriarchy, it's an absolute disaster because it's socialism.
So socialism incognito. Shall we move on to the next comment or the next series of topics that are discussed in your answer to somebody's comment? Yeah,
some of it's to her because she thinks I'm talking about her family in a micro sense and whether she liked her mother and her father or whatever. This is aggregate level modeling. I don't do family counseling. Okay.
Go on, George. Read.
Yeah,
Sigmund Freud's.
Yeah. Okay. Also see Sigmund Freud's Totem and Taboo in 1913 in combination with Erich Fromm's Anatomy of Human Destructiveness, 1971. Fromm is a Frankfurt School guy, but he made a huge mistake. He actually created a very, very accurate theory of human behavior and was then basically expelled from the Frankfurt School. But anyway, his view of history and education in terms of moving from a primitive sadomasochistic coercive relationship to mutually beneficial, positive, some productive character orientation relationships is what his psychological fulfillment theory is based on. Again, psychological fulfillment theories, he's got the best of the one relative to Rogers' theories and Maslow's theories. So it's a constructive versus destructive psychological relationship form that correlates to the proper and perverted forms of Aristotle's 6 forms of government. So you can complete, you can have a complete micro to macro behavioral form model in one shot if you combine those set of theories in there. And with Fromm, I'm talking about it's inclusive of Rogers and Maslow. So the result of the great ideological experiments is proving a combination of Fromm's psychological fulfillment theory models related to Aristotle's 6 forms of government to be linked, and here's the critical point, linked to free market economic growth over population growth models and then the outcome measure of more developed countries versus less developed countries. And under this domain-specific patriarchal model of free market, virtuous versus vicious dynamics, again, constructive versus destructive, every discipline has a destructive or constructive versus destructive behavioral dichotomy to them, including economic theory. So I'm relating these dichotomies because each one has something similar. So they're actually alignable, very alignable. That's answering Gintis and Arsani, actually, because they're trying to figure out how to conjoin these things. So that's what that's a reference to. The matriarchal communist or socialist centrally planned systems were disasters. And yes, Marxism was created to support a matriarchal family structures. It was a disaster wherever it was attempted. You know, and again, I put down see Engels, the family, private property, and the state. It's just in Engels there. Marx and Engels did write that together, but it's attributed to Engels because he's the one that actually completed it and published it. There's a bunch of things to break down here that, yeah, once men stop getting the freedom to compete with each other, their productivity plummets. So economic growth is directly tied to men competing with other men to outproduce them for economic gain and social status. And what do men do with money? Well, other than buy cars and boats, well, they put women.
Are you mansplaining? Are you you sound like you're mansplaining about men.
Yes, I'm very good at it. I have
you're mansplaining about men with literature as background. Yeah. What can I say?
One thing I noticed, you know, they talk about the innate drives versus the innate domain specific models. When I was taking these courses, I was like, well, how would you understand what the difference is? Well, the very fact when you walk into a Barnes and Noble's bookstore or Books A Million, whatever you're walking into, the very fact that there's a men's section and a women's section. Now, you could just have magazines, but you have women's magazines and men's magazines. Well, it's not because there's men's and women's magazines because there's a sign that says men's and women's above them. There's just racks of magazines that men and women's naturally gravitate towards. So if you go over to the section of magazines that men naturally gravitate towards, just look and see what it is. It's all toys. You have guns, boats, cars. Like when it's boats, it's yachts, it's personal watercraft. Car magazines, there's a ton of them. Then you have trade magazines too. You know, carpentry, metalwork. You know, a lot of DIY stuff. You know, you start to look at the different magazines, and then men are concerned about building stuff and toys and more toys and tools and more tools. Women's magazines, like my sisters say, they're all how to trap a man books. And they're all about weddings and stuff like that. You know, wait. So
wait. You have to translate the Texan. What are man books?
Man books are toys. And women's books are How to Trap a Man books. So it's
How to Trap a Man dash books. All right. Yeah,
yeah,
got it.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
It's marriage, wedding, and then it's okay. Well, fashion, and then houseware stuff. So then they're decorating their nests. Men build houses. Women have to take ownership of the house by furnishing it so they can say it's theirs, even though they didn't build it. There's always all this stuff about women at these feminist conferences saying they don't need men, but they're in these buildings where the construction crew was 99% male. The electricians were 99% male. The plumbers were 99% male workforces. So they're in all this structure and infrastructure that's built by 99.9% men,
George,
saying that they don't need men, and they drove a car that was
George,
designed by male engineers to
George,
get there, that
George,
could have been more than likely driven by a male
George,
taxi cab driver. Or okay, you get
George.
where I'm going.
George,
Yeah,
I'm gonna just call this episode mansplaining. This
yeah.
is George mansplains for the next hour and a half. Do you wanna get into Sigmund Freud's totem, or is that that's the one we
No,
just
I'm
read, right?
done with that. I'm
Oh
done with
yeah,
that.
all
I'm just
right.
giving you, because the point here was, you're either trying to do a Leave It to Beaver idealism of the perfect family. So you're trying to get men and women to be more complementary to raise better families. So you're trying to get them to be more productive character orientations and less abusive to each other and their kids to raise a perfect family. And there's a whole bunch of books written on how to do that. Or you're trying to say, forget with the matriarchy, you're trying to say, forget about trying to build a perfect patriarchal family, build the perfect matriarchal family, which would just be single parent women and fatherless kids. And I that's been a proven complete disaster. So yeah, it's Fromm was trying to build a perfect patriarchal family, even though that's not true leftism. And he was kind of not, he's not taught by the Marxists anymore. So you get the picture.
Yeah. So the Marxists don't want the family. That's what I'm getting from
Yeah,
you.
so they don't teach his books in psychology courses anymore. Yeah.
Let's get into Bolsheviks. We didn't do Bolsheviks yet. It should be
Where's
it should
that?
be it should be the next one if it's for
Oh,
patriarchal. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand this. When you get into the Russian famine and the
Is it
Holodomor.
shocking or surprising?
Yeah, it's shocking. Shocking. Okay. Everybody knows that Marx was trying to get focusing on getting the proletariat to overthrow the bourgeoisie and take over society. Yeah, put that back up there real quick so I can see where. Okay, wait, I got it here. All right. So for patriarchal versus matriarchal family entities, the early Bolshevik farm collectivization programs and experiments to create the matriarchal socialist support structure to make matriarchal families possible ended up creating mass famine and genocidal famines instead. Maynard Smith developed evolutionary game theory to explain evolutionary stable strategies, and evolutionary game theory proved to be much more explanatory of human nature and decision making, and eclipsed the classical game theory of von Neumann Morgenstern 1944 theory of economic games and theory of games and economic behavior was the title of the book. So these kinds of models are measured in central tendencies of mean, mode, and medium, not anecdotal outliers. So when you're doing government policy, you have to focus on not individual circumstances, but what's going to be the best for the most people. So the patriarchal system has proven to be extremely evolutionary stable, where matriarchal experiments that only exist in the West have killed tens of millions of people when implemented. In addition, the Western replacement rates are far below replacement levels. We'll get into that when we get into the 7P plan and the mass migration problem. We did the 7P plan. We did the basic rudimentary parts of it, but when we do the mass migration levels and we start looking at population charts and different books on it, this statement right here will become more important. So, yeah, so now we can't pay off of our debt. So, yeah, where the Western replacement rates are below replacement levels. Hence, the West is now massively importing people from the development world that have patriarchal systems to pay for the Social Security pension programs that was supposed to support the matriarchal ideal. Patriarchal systems are evolutionary stable and displacing Western culture as mass migration and open borders is a global policy, because the present West has left an evolutionary stable strategy for decades, and is soon will be financially unstable, economically unstable, and politically unstable. So again, we're in a transition period here from a patriarchal structure to a matriarchal structure, and before we even get to their socialist ideal, the system is going to collapse before we even get there.
I'm with you. I'm just doing things in the background, loading some stuff that I've got for later. Shall we see what
I'll just hit the rest of that comment, because what the big argument between Marx and the socialists back in the time period after the French Revolution was, the assumption was society has shifted to monarchy, to aristocracy, to democracy, again, using Aristotle's 6 forms of government of expansion of suffrage scale. And it's shifting towards total equality is what they thought. So they thought, well, it's going to go from capitalism to socialism and then to communism as a historical inevitability. So they still think that this transition is a historical inevitability, rather than the cyclical theorists who think societies rise and fall. So you have linear directional thought that think we're going to get the utopian socialists, the democratic socialists of America still think this. We're going to transition away from capitalism to an idea of socialism, because communism failed. We're just going to stop at market socialism. Well, not if the parasites kill the host, it collapses. But then what did they prove? They're proving the cyclical theorists right, like Nietzsche and Spengler, not the inevitability of socialism. So when you get into the history of socialist thought, Nietzsche was one of the biggest criticisms against that linear directional historical inevitability thought. Dilthey called it historicism. So Nietzsche wanted to go back to a psychologically based model and a cyclical theory. So my unified behavioral theory model of linking all those disciplines I just mentioned before is to operationalize Nietzsche.
Got it. I was skipping along to the next one, people praising you, and you basically getting back at them, see, with my explanation of patriarchal, which is what we just discussed. And then you add here, there are a ton of changes to make to the matriarchal family structure possible. Socialism is a rational choice model, or how to replace the patriarchal system. Have you got the rest of that?
Yeah, we did that. Again, it's people need to see the competing ideological systems as patriarchal versus matriarchal systems and rational choices models made on that. The thing is, if men are hardwired to compete with other men, which is like super obvious. I mean, I was talking about with an old roommate of mine, decades ago. it's just so obvious that when the first bicycle was invented, there was a guy down the street building another bicycle, and they were going to race the next month. It's just as soon as one man does something, as soon as one man invented a steam engine, then the Germans were over there. Okay, that was invented in England. The Germans were over there inventing internal combustion engines to put it into a vehicle to go faster. I mean, men, we automatically start competing in everything. You look at American baseball fields. They used to just be cut, but then once different grounds crews started cutting patterns in the grass, then the other grounds crews started cutting patterns in the grass. The owner of the baseball field is not telling the men to do that. The groundskeepers are doing it automatically. So these kind of drives are innate, and they exist in everything.
Gotcha. I just want to get you back on track because this is the mansplaining episode.
I'm not tracking that.
A father-headed household. Well, my grandmother had no rights. Awful sex. Wink. I don't know what that means. My mother already moved better, though, so she had better sex, I guess. Actually, my love life in marriage was already quite happy. So she is her mother, or I'm not getting it. I am happy that we won. Women had and have more rights. Are you advocating, George, let me get this clear. Are you advocating for less women's rights?
Yes.
Okay. I was not expecting a yes, to be honest with you, but go on.
I'll give an explanation. But absolutely yes, because it doesn't matter what I say right now. Just wait 5 years. I mean, it's the United States is already bankrupted. The utopian socialists now are really, they're in love with. Well, modern monetary theory has become their god. And it's not God. It won't be. It will fail. Okay.
What do you mean? Doesn't your money just say that is our God, basically?
It's supposed to say in God we trust, not money is God. But whatever. Moving right along. But yeah, if you compare. Okay, we just
wait. Why did you bring up? Did you have to live through the Russian famine or the Holodomor?
Well, that was an effort to create socialism, to create the farm collectivization programs were to support a matriarchal system. It killed tens of millions of people. She's not putting herself in the history of that thought. She's into psychological counseling. I'm into comparative ideological systems theory. So again, I'm making that
different time scales. Let's put it that way.
She's got to put herself in the history of humanity. Feminism wants to change the whole system around really fantastical delusions. It's what it boils down to. So Fromm was really focusing on, well, if you have a family unit, how do you improve it? But again, she needs to see a therapist about that.
Is leftism post-human now, George?
It's so delusional, you can call it whatever you want.
This is such bad comedy that it's definitely post-humor.
Yeah. But if somebody does want to sit down and have beers with me and tell me their family problems, I'm 100% down with that, as long as just over their head is the football game.
And your going rate is like 30 to 40,000 an hour.
Or as long as I can watch the football game as they're explaining that to me, I'm fine with that.
All right. George McMillon III says here, the authorities were monitoring his financial accounts. This is going back to that Gonzalo Lira. 137. Gaza Marine to Nord Stream, End Times, Lyra, and Cirillo. That was a good one.
There's a bunch of stuff. We did the video last year. Oh, I know what it was. You had Cristoforo on your show.
I did at one point. Yes, I did. Why?
You asked the question about Gonzalo at the end, and okay, we already knew that. Well, you're on with me, so he'll probably never come on your show again. I like those guys, but they probably don't think too much of me.
Actually, he's in touch, and he's supposed to reach out when he has time, and we're supposed to record in the coming, let's say, weeks. But yeah, no, I suspect he will be on. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
What were you gonna say?
Well, when he was on your show, you asked him the Gonzalo Lyra question, and again, in the background, Michael De La Brock and Felix, and we were starting to notice Gonzalo was not in touch with Felix, and he was clearly avoiding me and Michael De La Brock because of, well, me warning him that his communication.
Listen, I have to. I get fed up with you Anglos not knowing your own language and your own grammar. It's Michael De La Brock and I. It's not me and Michael De La Brock. It's Michael De La Brock and I. That is proper English grammar. I'm sorry, but I have to. On behalf of all English as a foreign language speakers and you Anglos.
Are you mansplaining for me?
This is the mansplaining episode. What can I say? This has to be the mansplaining episode. Continue. And I'm like foreign mansplaining. It's even worse than mansplaining.
I just wanted to get that straight. As long as you're mansplaining to me, it's okay.
Go on. Sorry.
So anyway, when he was on your show, you asked him that question, and we had noticed that the Duran was on with Gonzalo a lot within the first few months of before his first arrest and then after his arrest, and then avoided me and Michael De La Brock and Felix, or, all together. He avoided us like the plague. It was really obvious. And then they did that for a few months, and then Gonzalo started doing his roundtable thing, and he stopped appearing on the Duran. It looks like they were distancing themselves. I don't want does it look like they had a falling out or whatever? But Gonzalo wasn't on the Duran that much anymore. They did a couple of shows kind of like at the end, and then he had his second arrest and third arrest. And but it looked like they were separating, and anyway. So when you had Cristoforo on the show, I think you asked, he said, again, everyone wanted to know why he didn't leave Kharkiv, and at that time we hadn't done our videos, and the fact that I was warning him that his comms were going to be compromised wasn't out yet. All right, so he said that he really loves Kharkiv, and he was a real family man, which he was being very, very diplomatic in that answer, and of course none of that's true. So what Michael De La Brock and Felix were telling me in the background was, well, during COVID, he was in Amsterdam taking pictures with ladies of the evening and tweeting at Ethan Ralph. So then his wife left him and filed her divorce because these photos are on Twitter of him with all these other women. So she left him, and she left that condo in Kharkiv, filed for divorce, and moved back in with her family. So then after COVID was over, he went back to his apartment in Kharkiv, and she had already gone because after the war, people were asking him where his wife and kids were. Well, he didn't say she left him because of what he was doing in Amsterdam. He avoided it and said, "Oh no, they left because of the war to make sure they're
reason."
safe.
Yeah.
So you have the different. Okay, Coach Red Pill used to be a MGTOW person, so the MGTOW people, he had
Time
Uh,
out for people who don't know. It's kind of like a men's reaction to extreme feminism, and it stands for men going their own way. It became popular, I'd say now maybe 15, 20 years ago, maybe, or it got the name. Let's say 15, 20 years ago. I've been MGTOW since I was a teenager. Anyway, George, continue.
yeah. So, yeah, I guess I was into it for like in 2015, 2016, basically, because again, if you have the domain evolutionary strategies, domain specific versus domain general, as we're moving more towards materialism, Alan Bloom said, well, when you get to a more materialist conception of happiness, men are going to act more like men, women are going to act like more like women, and things are going to get worse, socially. So, okay, I'm studying heavily, evolutionary theory, depth psychology, that kind of stuff. I want to know what the average person thinks, right? Just the average person who's never studied this before. I just want a sentiment analysis on how things are trending. And boy, MGTOW provides that kind of empirical evidence for me in just droves. So that's why I'm always listening to MGTOW. And yeah, then I started running across the names, MGTOW, Turd Fleeking Monkey, TFM, and MGTOW
Sandman,
Sandman, MGTOW
Sandman,
101.
yeah.
And you get the different MGTOWs. All right. CRP was in that movement, but when he was arrested, his whole MGTOW people, he burns bridges right and left. It's not just Ethan, Ralph, and those crew. And Felix knows these people way more than I do. I just do my sentiment analysis for where we are in our societal trends formation, and I just want to see what regular people think about it. Once I do my sentiment analysis, I'm kind of gone with it. But what I did notice was while he was arrested, and Ethan Ralph did that champagne party of rest and piss, coach, where he thought he was dead after Scott Ritter's video. I looked at the and then he reappears. I looked at the
I know
other
nothing of this.
videos.
Like, I didn't. I don't. First of all, I didn't know about Coach Red Pill. He came up within the Ukraine coverage for me. Second of all,
Okay.
all these people that you're mentioning, they like I have no idea who they are, other than Felix, like Felix
Okay,
Resk.
MGTOW 101 I thought was hilarious, but
But no,
it's
but
now many.
this whole rest in piss. Before when people thought he was dead because Ritter said he was dead, basically before
Or
he was
thought he was
dead.
dead. Oh,
Yeah.
well, the people in the background. Well, I never knew that this stuff existed or that he had burned so many bridges because I don't know anybody. I just watch videos for whatever different reasons. I watch videos, then I move on to whatever my next fascination is. So I started looking back at what they were saying about Gonzalo. And yeah, it's exactly what Felix told me was. Well, I was double checking on what Felix told me. Yeah, the different MGTOW people thought that his first arrest was a PR stunt, like all of them did. So he burned bridges over there and had different fights and different arguments with Ethan Ralph. He used to go out and party with Ethan Ralph, and then they had some kind of falling out, and then he had a falling out with Scott Ritter, and then he wasn't talking to Felix for a while, and yeah, he just burns bridges and stops talking to people, and for whatever different reasons, it's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. So when Cristofaro was saying that, oh, he really loved Kharkiv and he really was a family man and was staying there devoted to his family. Well, what Coach Red Pill obviously didn't tell those guys was his family had left before he got back to Kharkiv after the COVID lockdowns ended or before they ended, I guess, or wherever we are with that timeline. So yeah, Cristofaro was very, very nice, but that just meant that Gonzalo just never told him what was actually going on behind the scenes. Because one of your female viewers said, "Oh yeah, Gonzalo must have been a really devoted family man," and she wrote that in the comment section. I did not reply to that. I held my I held my comments later on for what was actually going on behind the scenes. The story there is people were projecting onto Gonzalo whatever they wanted to project onto Gonzalo. Gonzalo himself was a totally different person. So it's fascinating from a psychological point of view how people project images onto people. And right now, I really don't want to know what people have projected onto me because it's probably not good. But anyway, moving right along.
That's maybe why I stay here in the dark, so that they can't project that much.
So you don't have you don't want any part of that.
Yeah. The authorities were monitoring his financial accounts the entire time. This goes back to the track the money that we discussed, I think 2 or 3 talks ago now.
Well, it's flabbergasting. Bill Benny talks about it in his videos. Again, there's a certain government agency who, called the Treasury Department that tracks people's money. The IRS, and they have other entities that interact with other American law enforcement agencies. But when you get into the FBI and DEA that deal with Interpol and other government agencies, these departments also share, financial information of Americans with these other law enforcement agencies. Yes, they have to. They're supposed to go through the reasonable suspicion, probable cause, spectrum before they actually give this information up. But they can give it up. So they had all this financial information before his first arrest. They always follow the money because I was talking to other people. I've been talking all day on other shows or other VTCs and stuff. But people don't realize how a government agency can, if they're targeting a person, they can do it in such a way that they're moving the reasonable suspicion to probable cause. They can make that progression in such a way that it's legal, whether it's a fishing expedition or not. Fishing expeditions are supposed to be illegal. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. You're supposed to have the crime and then find the person, not vice versa. But it's very easy.
Wait, what are fishing expeditions for us people?
Oh, in legal theory, that means you have the crime, you have the person, and you're trying to pin a crime on him. So then you're going to go through his financial statements to try to find something he did illegal. Like Al Capone and cheating on his taxes.
I'm not a crook.
Yeah, I'm okay. Well, my father voted for Nixon. Actually met Nixon later on. But I'm not a crook. So that stuff can be done with Gonzalo. Once they start tapping his communications, they're looking to see who he's contacting to. They're seeing where he gets his payments from. If they can connect him in Kharkiv to receiving financial payment from Russia, then they can go from reasonable suspicion to probable cause and say he's a spy paid by an external entity. So then he crosses the legal criteria of the Geneva Convention that he's not just a citizen journalist, that he's actually a paid spy. So it's that legal criteria that he could theoretically be crossing. I don't know. I had to actually explain that to Cirillo because she didn't understand the legal ramifications of what those ECs, the electronic communications that Cirillo read, didn't understand what the legal implications were.
I just want to, because this comment on your comment is sticking in my face, and I can't wait to answer that. It's not Anna, it's Alina Lip that you were referencing.
Oh, okay. Well, I confused it with the other Anna girl.
I think. Who's the other Anna girl?
Oh, what was her name? That Russian girl that was in Belgrade for a while. What was her name? It's
Oh no. That was somebody random. It's Alina Lip that did the reporting.
Yeah,
not Anna.
did that. I confused it with the Russian vagabond girl or whatever.
Don't know.
Did some videos. They used to do videos in Belgrade, right on Trig Square there, and whatever.
No, don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
FYI note, Gonzalo Lira was issued an emergency passport by the U.S. Embassy. You want to continue reading so that I'm not voicing your voiceover?
When I did my when I did the Felix Rex videos, and then when I did the Felix Rex video on the Cirilla thing, some guy was like, "Oh yeah, George doesn't know what he's talking about. Gonzalo couldn't leave." Well, no, that was untrue. When Gonzalo's original passport expired, again, he's a dumbass for letting his passport expire. But then he had to go back to the U.S. Embassy after he was talking smack about the powers that be that run that place. He then has to go back, and he demanded a passport and begged for a passport because of his heart issues, and he said he was going to leave immediately, so they gave him a new passport so he could leave immediately. And then instead of going to the border or getting on a plane and leaving, he goes back to Kharkiv for 6 months, and his emergency passport expired. So now, if the powers that be that run the embassy weren't mad at him before, he lied to the consulate and said he was going to leave immediately and then didn't. And now he has to come back and ask for another new passport. So then he's made to wait 6 weeks because it depends how the cycle runs, because you got the diplomatic courier that's got to go back and forth. And if you hit the cycle just right, it's like 2.5 weeks. If you hit it wrong, then it's 3.5, 4 weeks. If things are slowed down because of COVID, then it takes longer, right? So, yeah, then he had to wait
hearsay. This is all hearsay.
Yeah, so then he had to take another month to get his regular passport back. But by then he had pissed off so many different people in that process. And yeah, from what Cirillo and some other people were talking about. So yeah, that did not go well for him. But then he had, he had pissed off more people. So then they did put wanton warrants on his passport. So he had a I would say from when he got his emergency passport, I want to say he had like a 1 month opportunity where he could have left and then chose not to. And if people go back and watch his own videos, I started to line some of them up in that slide set. He actually places himself in Kiev when Cirillo said he was in Kiev. So those things are corroborate. And he places himself there. But he doesn't tell people why he's going back and forth to Kiev. He leaves that part out. He doesn't tell people that his passports are expiring and he's going back to get new ones. Because when he tries to go to Hungary, he's got another new one. So these things, you can corroborate the information with Gonzalo's own videos.
If you would want to write a chronically correct, really good joke.
Yeah.
Cue the silence. Cue absolute silence.
And actually put that much effort into it, and I'm not going to. But the real Gonzalo fans know when he said he was going back and forth to Kiev, so they know that this is basically plausible. In other words, it's right. It's corroborative.
We've got here from Supreme Cannons. It's just off screen here. I can see it on the right. Oh, you guys can't.
Just real quick. I was explaining to people why they would be monitoring his accounts because, they're trying to build a spy case against him from where he's getting his money. But of course, they're not going to let him leave with that money. That was never going to happen. He thought it was going to happen. He thought he was a millionaire from his transition from a MGTOW person to a war correspondent. Oh no, that was never going to happen. Yeah, me and Tim talked about that, and with Michael De La Brock and Felix behind the scenes. Oh no, he thought it was going to happen. That was never going to happen. They were going to seize his money some way or somehow. So when he got his second arrest, that's it. He's not leaving that jail with any money. If he made it out of Ukraine, he was going to leave broke. because whatever money he had in his bank account, the lawyer's fees were going to equal that. He ended up dying.
Two things. Well, actually, three things now that you say he ended up dying. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He had more than one chance to get the fuck out, as they would say, GTFO. Yeah. And he chose to stay, and whether it was ego, whether it was the money, whether it was whatever it was, but he chose to stay, and he paid the heaviest price for it. But at the same time...
He could have transferred that money to his wife and kids rather than lose it. Again,
there's all kinds of coulda, woulda, shoulda, and hindsight is 2020. But the point is that there is.
He's a bad father. He's not a family man. He's not.
Well, yeah, obviously. Well, yeah, obviously. No,
it's money more than quarterbacking. He did not take care of his kid, his wife and kids. He did not do that. He could have done that.
Shocking. What can I say? Shocking. Yeah, that seems to be the catchphrase of this week.
He's a very, very bad patriarch, is what I'm saying.
I just wanted to say that it looks like some subscribers have finished watching the last upload, that shocking one, the first one that we started shocking with the shocking stuff, and
well, they probably finished watching this channel altogether.
No, Rien, or I think the pronunciation is Rien. Rien? I guess it's queen in French. The point is, she's not shocked at all.
Who's that? Oh.
Somewhere in the Telegram chat. But let's get back to this. This is Supreme Canon, I believe. Gonzalo Lira could have run his live stream from anywhere in the world and didn't get out when he had the chance. At a certain point, I have to say I feel more sorry for his dad and his children. I wanted to be Bernard Shaw in Baghdad, I guess. George McMillan.
Yeah, the old CNN when Bernard Shaw used to be in Baghdad with Christiane Amanpour. And what was it?
Of all people.
Yeah, but when we did our first video last year before I did Felix Rex, we kind of war gamed what was going on with Felix and how I could have made that presentation a little bit better. And some of those things ended up in Felix Rex, even though I went deeper into how the link analysis worked. And I think that lost a lot of people. It's too boring. I mean, to me, I worked out a lot of details in my own head, so I understand it better. But I'm not sure if it was less than entertaining, and it probably wasn't good to do for a mass audience. And it could have gotten.
It's because people don't appreciate comedy. I mean, other creators, other creators.
The other things, I think I did a really good thing on that, but as I was doing it with Felix, I wanted to get it over with because I realized I could, with some of the things that were on that video, that I could get myself into trouble that I didn't realize when I was making that slide set. So again, you don't want to go on for free and then end up with $1 million of legal fees and spend some time in a penitentiary either. So yeah, those things went bye-bye. The slide set's still here. We zoomed through it the other day so people can see it still exists, but it's not up for public viewing.
Let's get to this reply of yours. The authorities were monitoring his financial accounts the entire time. Do you have that one on your screen, or do you want to read it off the screen?
Oh, well, no, I already went over it. I mean, okay, well, Alina Lip is the one that actually came up with the numbers. Michael because he was bragging to people how much money he was making a month, Michael de LeBrock was starting to make some guesstimates, and what Michael de LeBrock's guesstimates were and what Alina Lip's amounts were very close together.
So you're saying he's not a family.
He was bragging about how much money he was making, and the numbers were accurate.
I can brag that I have only 5, I think, Patreons. pretty sure it's 5 now. It used to be 4 for a very long time. And I have people buying me coffees at a rate of maybe like $30 a week, maybe.
Oh, good. You're doing way better than me.
Well, you're not asking, nor are you recording, nor are you working, and I'm working nonstop. Didn't you see that in the other recording?
This is true. This is very true.
I was recording and chatting and preparing for the next one at the same time. So,
with me, since most people in the general audience can't stand me, I got to hit a different market, and I got to, instead of buy me a house, I got to say buy me a car. Those people have more money.
On that note, I've got Fab 3000, the huge new Russian bomb in its natural environment, flying through the air. It just looks so insane and like it shouldn't be happening, honestly.
Is that one of those glide bombs? Because I don't see an engine on it.
No, yeah, it's a glide bomb. Yeah, it's a glide bomb.
Yeah. All right, so they want it to go farther, so they put bigger wings on it. It's not going down, it's going out, so they changed the wing configuration on it to make it do that. All right, interesting. So they can get another 20 kilometers out of it, whatever.
It's crazy that these are old bombs, and the fact that they're reusing them, and this is huge. But in any case, I wanted to get your take.
On it.
What'd you say?
So they just strap wings on it, but they need to put a GPS unit on it that controls the wings and the elevators to make it steer towards where they want it to go to.
Yeah, that's what they are. That's this thing. Yeah. Basically, this is the strap-on, basically glide wing set. Yeah, they just like tie it on with these. I don't know what you would call them. Would you call them straps? I'm pretty sure you'd call them straps.
They're big hose clamps. They're big hose clamps, is what they are.
Oh, okay. Well, because straps are cloth. Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Like you'd strap something down to your car. You wouldn't strap it down to a bomb. All right. English is a second language.
Yeah. Well, I don't speak any other languages because I have to learn all these academic disciplines and stuff like that, and it takes a real long time. Is that AV?
That is AV. Casting a spell, and I wanted to.
Well, is he casting a spell, or is he talking about the first time he touched a woman's breast?
It could be either. I don't know. Okay. It could be either. But the photo is not representative of the text. The text. Actually, while we were recording the other one, and I was chatting to people in the live premiere of the first recording, people asked for you to comment on the Balkans. And I had already planned to ask you about this and 2 other little cartoons from the 90s. So, President of Serbia accused Biden of double standards in the situation with Ukraine and Yugoslavia. Vučić cited Biden's remarks at the NATO summit as an example, saying that during the war in the Balkans, Washington intervened to restore peace and stop ethnic cleansing. By the way, viewers, I know we passed the 1 hour mark. I have a question. More about the stage of society. Since you, the state of society, since you, NATO in 99 and everyone else, then prevented ethnic cleansing by mocking one small state and people, you are 19 great and strong. How did it not occur to you to mock, invade, and immediately attack Russia? How is it that when the Russian Federation enters into Ukraine, you say that this is aggression, but when you invaded the territory of Serbia, this is not aggression, but salvation. Comments, George?
Right. Well, yeah, on LinkedIn, I got into it with I didn't get into it with somebody, but somebody posted a comment about Russian clamping down in Chechnya and Dagestan. because of the Salafist Wahhabi uprisings in Chechnya. And they were saying that the United States should then support the separatists in Chechnya, and then the person
who are these people that are your friends on LinkedIn, man? Like, I would report these people as jihadi sympathizers.
It was because I responded. I was like, boy, I can't wait to see this. But my response was the person. I said, I know what it was. The person neglected to explain. They called the people in Chechnya freedom fighters, and they wanted to break apart and they should be able to do that. That's what the PhD guy said. I think he was from the Netherlands or something.
What does PhD mean?
Philosophy doctorate, a professor.
Oh, like PhD, like actual PhD. Yeah, okay. Philosophy doctorate.
Okay. So I put in there, I was like, boy, I can't wait to read this article. I said from the sentence and the abstract, from the title and the abstract, you don't mention at all that these people are Salafi Wahhabist terrorist organizations. So then he responded, well, you should read the article. So then I read the article. I'm like, fair enough, I read the article. Way down at the bottom, it says, some people do say that they could be religious extremists, but that would be after 1994. He comes up with a year, and after the first Russian invasion, then they became extremists. So I went back. I was like, well, okay, your dates is completely erroneous. The Salafi Wahhabist extremist movements occurred after 1979, when the people from the Arab Peninsula were jealous of the Shia theocracy in Iran, and then wanted a Sunni theocracy in Saudi Arabia, and the oil sheiks started funding the Sunni VEOs like crazy, especially Operation Cyclone, the Mujahideen, which now the United States calls the Taliban.
I'm just here trying to contain myself from begging subscribers of to not unsubscribe. Basically, you know what I mean?
I'm going somewhere with this. So when the United States supports them, they change them to one name, and then when they're fighting them, they change the name again, but it's the same people. But I responded to the guy, if they're allowed freedom from a country, what about Kosovo? What about Bosnia-Herzegovina? Because then you're setting up a precedent where when Texas? Is a country allowed to retain?
What about Texas?
Of course I brought up Texas.
Or what about California?
Argument about Texas sovereignty or even Florida's. So when people bring up, the West has set certain precedents that when Russia follows the same precedent, all of a sudden the precedent all of a sudden the principle behind the precedent changes. And the United States does this continuously.
It's shifting the goalposts. It's shifting the goalposts.
So it's that context that AB is saying that. That's because you got the problems in Kosovo where it's being flooded by Albanians. They're illegal migrants, and they have terrorist organizations that are fighting for independence. So the United States jumps in on their side. But then when you talk about Ukraine and the East-West division there, again, on the videos I did with Michael De LeBrock and Felix, I put up the East-West Catholic Orthodox divide maps. Well, why can't the Eastern Orthodox form their own country and go back to Russia? So these arguments the principles shift. Well, the West changes the principles all the time. So that's what AV was referring to. Is that an ongoing argument?
I wanna bring back this actual newspaper clipping from a Kuwaiti newspaper that I brought up with another guest, and this is from, as you can see, Friday, May 7th, 1999, and you've got. Do you want to tell people who we have here? You might recognize these better than I do. Who is this gentleman in the left corner?
Oh, Castro.
All right, and behind him we've got somebody from the Taliban, one would expect. Then we've got a North Korean. Then we've got an African in Slobo, Dan Milosevic, and this main character
is Clinton.
All right, and the world is turning its back to what's going on, and he's telling them to learn democracy in 10 days. George, comment?
It's a pretty good meme.
It's not a meme. Memes didn't exist. It's a political cartoon. It's not a meme.
Yeah. Well, okay. I got to progress with the times. Yeah, it's whatever I thought back then. Yeah, my views of working overseas for the past decade and a half have changed my views, because the whole regime change, nation building program has not gone the way that we had hoped. Let me put it that way.
We had hoped. This is also another one.
Once too, I guess you could call me. Before I went to Iraq. And
this is another one from the Kuwait Times. This is another one from the Kuwait Times in '99. Yeah, things are very different when you see them firsthand. We've got a U.S. Air Force NATO pilot, and he's got a tractor with the refugees. He's got a bus. He's got a house with a family, and he's just painting a little Chinese embassy right there. George, comment?
Yeah, after the 1990s, that China had to build a new building in Belgrade.
Yeah,
it's probably significantly stronger than the old one, I would expect.
you think it has a much deeper underground, no?
Yeah, they probably have deeper underground facilities. From their last learning experience.
Yeah, that would not surprise me. Let's see. Do we have anything else? Oh yeah, we've got a classic one. We can't miss this. Only some of you will get this. Let me mansplain it for you. The Haktua meme is, something that went around recently that tried to tell men what it is they're like by womansplaining.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And this lady here is the original Haktua who
I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea.
This is not your area of expertise in mansplaining.
No idea.
All right.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I've got a little video here as a bonus for everybody who stuck around all the way to the end of this Working Brother Talks. Hold on, can I do this? I probably can't do it synced. I'll have to click here, and then I'll have to click here and turn up the volume.
He's not texting you right now?
Why he's not texting you?
Legally purchase a tank for home defense.
Do you want to know why he's not texting you right now?
Ladies, that's why he's not texting you right now. He's looking up how to legally buy a tank.
For home
George,
defense, they would be good.
Right. George, anything to say as we close off this?
Your home is.
Yeah, if you've got like a ranch.
Yeah.
You got it right. George, anything else you'd like to blurt out there before we call this a talk?
No, but we got to get back to the 7P plan and U.S. domestic policy next. We're going to do that.
Next session that we actually sit down and record, we'll
Do we have
do
any
that.
comments that we need to go for another video, or did we hit all three, or where are we with that?
No, we had all three. We're done
Okay.
with the comments. We're done with the comments. That's why I went to the memes, and we're done with the memes. So we're basically done with this talk and this marathon of recording with George. It's been like 3, 4, I don't know how many hours, but it's been a while. And everybody who stuck around through all of the episodes, especially this extra mansplaining one. Thank you, George. Thank you for explaining everything in your manly way.
Yeah.
And everyone.
I was told to work on that.
Anyway, I think we've had enough. Let me play this music. Take us out of here. Everyone, have a good one. See you soon.